Welcome everyone, Costin here with the discussion about World of Warcraft, where Blizzard has decided to make a fairly substantial change on retail in terms of pugging, really, cross-realm pugging and boosts. And they've decided to crack down to an extent, not completely, but to an extent, they've decided to take action against the boosting pandemic, if you will call it that. So what do I mean by by it being a pandemic? Well, what's been happening on retail, and this is one of the reasons that pushed me to quit Shadowlands. What's been happening on retail is you would start getting so many sell runs for raiding, and not just that, but you get so many sell runs that they would completely eclipse, or almost completely eclipse, actual legitimate raiding activities. And because of the way gold works on retail, where you can buy gold for real money through the token, you buy a token, you sell it, you get gold, and then you can use that gold in a boost run to get the gear, to get the achievements. Then World of Warcraft had essentially turned into a pay-to-win game. Now, it still is one, to be clear. This is not the solution to that, but what Blizzard is doing here is going to reduce it, because what's been happening is a sort of black market had been created around this. I mean, it's an entire industry. It's a profitable industry. People in certain poor countries where their economies might not be going so well, like say Venezuela is an example that keeps coming up and up in these kind of discussions because of the situation there. People in those kind of countries do this as a business, really, because it is immensely profitable for them, considering the income levels of their countries relative to how much they can earn from doing things like this, running this kind of industry. So you have an industry, a gold selling, a botting, a boosting industry in World of Warcraft right now in retail, which is extremely damaging to the game, to its community, to the player base. It's killing the social aspect. It's pushing things in a bad direction. And finally, after years of this being an issue, and it's been an issue for a very, very, very long time, I remember seeing this kind of behavior, certainly not nowhere near as bad as it is today, or has been until recently, but I remember seeing this kind of behavior all the way back in Mists of Pandaria. I mean, there's always been sell runs to an extent in World of Warcraft, but it started becoming bad, or at least I noticed it being bad in Mists of Pandaria. So think on how long this has been going on. And Blizzard did nothing until recently to address this issue. And in some ways, it does feel too little, too late. But first, let's read what they've done. From KVAX Community Manager, as conditions change by which various entities operate in World of Warcraft, we are compelled to update our policies to further our goal of making the gameplay experience as fair and welcoming as possible. Since we last updated our policies, we have found an increasing disturbance of the gameplay experience has been caused by organizations excessively advertising various non-traditional services in-game. As of today, we will now prohibit organizations who offer boosting, matchmaking, escrow, or other non-traditional services, including those offered for gold. World of Warcraft accounts found to be in violation of this policy are subject to account actions. These actions can include warnings, account suspensions, and if necessary, permanent closure of the disruptive World of Warcraft account. Organizations operating across multiple realms and excessively advertising non-traditional in-game sales are contrary to the terms and conditions of the Blizzard and User License Agreement. This policy does not restrict individuals or guilds from using providing in-game tools, trade channel to buy or sell in-game items or activities for in-game currency. However, boosting communities, which is the problem I'm talking about, especially those who operate across multiple realms, are no longer permitted. We urge all such organizations to cease doing business in World of Warcraft immediately in order to maintain uninterrupted access to the game. So they're taking this action, and then there is an update on what that really means. So in response to a post, I believe cross-realm boosting is disallowed unless I read it wrong. Organizations who disruptively advertise across all realms and establish escrow services are the primary target of this policy update. Guilds and individuals who are inviting players from another realm to join them in traditional game activities in exchange for gold are allowed, as they were before. would ethically include things like JKP runs, where, okay, that depends on the definition of financially. If it means an exchange of gold only without the middleman entity, then it sounds like the same sort of guild activities players have been doing for 17 years, which are not the focus of this policy update. So they are moving in a direction where they're not trying to stop gold bid runs, they're not trying to stop sell runs, but they are limiting in significant fashion, or they're trying to limit the organized boosting scene. They're trying to take a sledgehammer to that scene and stop it in its tracks. And if things have been getting out of control, as I've said, things are pretty crazy when you look at it. Like when you have, like, I know, 5 times as many sell runs as opposed to legitimate pug runs, or actual groups trying to do a raid. And since now, this was at the beginning of Shadowlands, I'm sure it's gotten much worse since then, given the way things are right now. When you have this kind of situation, then the impact, then what it creates is an expectation for a lot of people. For the record, like this is a problem with gold bid runs. This is a problem with everything that's going on. It's like, you can't just ignore it. You can't just say, oh, I'm not going to engage in it, because what are you going to do if you want to get the gear to be competitive? Because World of Warcraft is a game that's always been defined about gear. And especially right now on retail, more so than ever, your item level or your gear level is enormously significant in terms of your power level of your character. It's one of the primary means by which you are judged as a player in terms of being able to even join groups in the first place. So if you want to join good groups, decent groups, or join groups in general, then you need good gear. But if you create, with what's been happening, an expectation was that people would be joining these runs, they would participate in this, they would get items from these runs, they would get the achievements, and that just completely screws over the entire community. And gold build runs are a major problem in Classic, but retail with the group finder, retail is a whole different kettle of fish, and with the cross-realm play. And of course, Blizzard is also implementing cross-faction raiding in World of Warcraft, which is something that they probably should have done a while ago, but they're doing it now. And I think it's interesting that they've decided to throw in the towel on that. And it's a good thing that they've decided to do that they've decided to finally do something that should have happened a while ago. It might lead lead some credence to some of the leaks we've had, where it's been suggested, or it's been pointed out, that faction unification is going to happen. Maybe this is just the start to lead up to that eventually in the next expansion. That's my belief, or at some point in the future. It's going to take a while. It's going to be progressive, I imagine. It's going to take a certain number of patches changes for Blizzard to even announce that they're going to do that. But I do think that Blizzard is moving in the right direction with this. I do believe that they should never have allowed things to get as bad as they have. And in many ways, this issue is representative of where Blizzard has been over the last couple of years. They've flat out ignored many of the economic issues, community issues of their own game. As I mentioned, this has been going on since Myst to a certain degree or another. And it was a problem then. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse, with Warlords of Draenor pumping vast sums of money into the game economy, and then the WoW token being added, and then things just continuously spiraling out of control more and more and more and more. It was inevitable that things were going to develop down this path, I feel. And they have. And things have gotten pretty bad in many ways in World of Warcraft with the community. Non-existent community. I mean, World of Warcraft, as I said, has in many ways become a pay-to-win game. And it's also become a single-player game. And it's also become a game where the faction balance is completely screwed over because of ignorance, really, on Blizzard's part, because Blizzard didn't take the measures over the years, and now they're trying to play catch-up, as they have on many other issues. On many occasions, Blizzard lets an issue fester. They don't do anything for quite a long time, then spirals out of control, and then they do things that they should have done, I know, half a decade ago. Yeah, that's how bad this is. So it's a good change, don't get me wrong. And maybe we're starting to see some of the impact of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. I don't believe Microsoft is doing anything right now directly in Activision Blizzard, but maybe because of the fact that they know they're going to be under new management and there's going to be certain expectations on it, maybe they're starting to make some changes on their own. I don't think this is surprising. I mean, I've seen some comments from people saying, oh, Microsoft's already changing Activision Blizzard for the better. I mean, this is a good change, right? Regardless of what I complain about what Blizzard has done in the past, this is a solid change. It's a good change. It's a welcome change. It should have come much, much earlier, but we'll see what happens. I do hope it's just the beginning of a tsunami of changes that Blizzard does need to make to World of Warcraft, especially on retail, but not just there, to really improve the situation in the community. Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more, ladies and gentlemen.